Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Justin.
So we have to record two different intros. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Justin.
We're up 3-1 in the series. Whoa!
Whoa!
Right where we
We're
want them.
closing them out Friday night, tonight.
Tonight is game 5 when we're obviously up 3-1.
3-1. That's right.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Justin.
Tied 2-2. Man, we
Whoa,
knew this
what?
series would be close.
Every game was close, so it only makes sense that the series is also close.
Wow. I can't believe we got to this point. Everyone's winning at home. Wow.
Wow. That's generally, that's not that uncommon.
So there we go. We
So
have
there you
all
go.
they're all in the bag.
Welcome to the Odd Pod, where we're talking Kitchener Rangers hockey with the oddballs themselves, Andrew and Justin. Take it away, fellas.
Obviously recording on Wednesday night, so the game 4 is tomorrow night. On Thursday, we do not know the outcome, so right now, when we are talking about a 2-1 series because we got shut out last night and
Got
still
goalied.
frustrated
Got
about
goalied.
it. Got
in
goalie.
front of what they said was 2,221.
Ooh.
But if that's 2,221, then, well, my friends, I'm 6'7".
And we have 53,000 podcast listeners.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we're both billionaires. I can tell you at the Dork Financial Center, which to me sounds like a sound you make when maybe you're choking on something or you're a seal. Dork.
Yes.
Dork. The Dork Financial Center, there was almost a handful of people present for that game. So, yeah, I was pretty shocked, to be honest.
Yeah, where are all the people? Is it usually Canadians that go down and they're boycotting?
I know. I'm confused because I just felt like Flint probably, especially for a playoff game, I'm assuming that they have better attendance than that year to year because
I thought there was more attendance on games I've watched this season. I don't remember there being nobody at Flint games.
No, it was very strange. It was I guess an April Fool's prank they pulled, which they fooled themselves because their home team won.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but the Rangers, I think, are in a good spot in this series. I'm not worried about. You know what? I listened back to our last episode. Not that I love hearing our voices as much as I've heard them this year, but I listened back and we did talk about Nathan Day and perhaps, him stealing a game.
Yeah.
And I think that was the one he stole, to be honest.
Well, for sure. Yeah, we've experienced this sort of goalieing only a couple times this season, and when it happens, it happens. Obviously, we were able to beat them in other games. When they get locked in, they get locked in. I think Parsons is one of the few other goalies playing right now who can do this as well. So we haven't, not that he's played poorly in any way. It's just that, this shutdown game that Nathan Day played, this is the first goalieing of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I will say Flint did outplay Kitchener in the third, but Kitchener, I felt, handily outplayed Flint in the first two periods.
I actually thought that I guess we're just talking about game 3 now.
Yeah, well, this was the most recent one.
It was, and what I think was interesting was it felt like the Rangers there was dominance happening on the Rangers' end throughout most of the game, and then Flint got that first goal, and it just felt like the Rangers got frustrated and then started to play a little sloppy, and it there was they got frustrated, then Flint immediately scored again. And then the Rangers, they were sloppier the rest of the game. And it was I think it was purely frustration about the fact that they had already put up 40 shots on Nathan Day and just couldn't beat him.
Just couldn't buy one. But
no,
that if we go back to the home games, the Rangers scored 10 goals over 2 games. So they had no problem scoring. The first game was an absolute showdown. What a game. What a game
Andrew,
to start the playoffs.
You were there. Tell us about Tell us about the
Okay.
atmosphere.
Well, I can tell you, I was so proud that the name of this podcast is the Odd Pod when I was in there, because I was like, this is what I remember. This is what I remember from the first year of going to the playoffs when they played Windsor, the year that Shane Wright was on Windsor and Pinelli played for Kitchener. It was a couple years ago. And I just remember being like, holy crap. This is NHL level intensity from the crowd. This is like people are into this. And it was like that. It was palpable. There was a pulse to the crowd, and the Rangers and the Firebirds came out on all cylinders. That beginning of that game was absolutely bonkers. It was big hits. There was no way that the whole game could go like that, or else there wasn't going to be a player standing. I cannot tell you, if you missed it, if you have the OHL, the CHL app, if you can go back and watch even just the first 5 minutes of Kitchener Flint on Friday, March 28th, it's nuts. It's everybody's finishing their checks. Everybody's skating all out. There's a ton of stick work going on, extracurricular stick work. It was unbelievable. And I can tell you, they just didn't really call anything. I was like, What is happening? And I wasn't even saying it just as like a homer. Now, there was one call in particular, which we'll talk about, or non-call, I should say, that I was a homer, but I do think I feel justified in. But the Rangers weren't getting called for anything either. It was like, oh my goodness, like they're going to kill each other.
Right. Yeah.
They're going to kill each other.
It didn't feel like one team was getting it more than the other team. It just felt like the refs were mandated to not call everything. And I find it the most frustrating hockey to watch when they don't call everything. I agree. But I appreciate the fact that it wasn't like every little thing was getting called too. I get the flow of the game, things like that. You want that, but I find it frustrating.
I agree. I totally agree. I don't understand the logic of the whole year being played a certain way, and then you come out in playoffs and it's a totally different rule book. Yeah. I don't understand that. I understand that we have a lot of fans and peers that do understand it and like it like that. But my issue is that I feel like that favors a lesser skilled team. So if you can be more rough and you can get away with more, I feel like lesser skill can compensate in those scenarios. Now, do I think that any of the calls... Sorry, I just want to make one last point. Do I think that any of the non-calls or calls affected the outcome of the game? No.
Yeah, there you go. I agree with you, and I also think that there's some undisciplined teams that get to go further in the playoffs than maybe they should because they are undisciplined. And it's a shame, because I think in the regular season you can have a really stellar regular season if you work really hard on your discipline, you don't take so many penalties, you get a couple more calls in your favor than the other team. That can be a difference maker throughout the regular season, and if you don't have that in the postseason, then it can dramatically change a series.
It's also frustrating because like the Rangers have such a dominant penalty kill, and realistically, a lot of the game comes down to special teams in the regular season. It's how good can you kill penalties a lot of the time, right?
Yep.
And then you get to the playoffs and you're playing just mainly 5-on-5. That's a very different structure to your game. Now you're being forced to win different ways. Now, the Rangers were 1 for 2 and killed all 3 penalties, but if you were actually calling it closer to the regular season, I would think that each team would have had 6 or 7 penalties for sure.
Agreed. Yes. I think so too. There was a lot of, that extraneous stick work, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Watching it on, I wasn't at this game, I was watching it on TV. But yeah, it was like, okay, that's a lot of stuff happening behind the play.
But yeah, and I mean, the good thing though, like I said, didn't really affect the outcome of the game. Speaking of, the big contributor for the Rangers was the big man on campus himself, Trent Swick. 2 goals, 1 assist.
Man. Huge game for him.
They left him alone twice in the slot. He's huge. You can't lose him.
Man, the elation on his face when he scored. Him and Vermeulen scored the second goal of this game, and the two of them like lost their minds. They were so excited, and then the OT winner also. These guys are so happy to be here. It is so exciting. They're so into it. It's the best. This is what makes playoff hockey the best. When you have NHLers who are like they've been through it for ages, and you got some of these guys in the playoffs who are like, whatever, it's just the playoffs, blah blah blah. We do, but you want the guys who are so excited about it.
Oh man, you can tell that every single guy on this team feels it with their whole heart when they score, which we'll get to in the next game too. But yeah, the elation, the relief, the passion is just absolute. Like there was a picture from this game that the Rangers account posted of Trent Swick celebrating, and I shared it to our social media page and said, hang it in the Louvre, because it was just so, like, it was the embodiment of passion and like success. Like, it was like, there it is. That's what you work for all year. That's why you get out and you dream of as a little kid, is scoring a goal like that in the playoffs.
Yeah, totally. We mentioned Swick had a crazy game. Like he was a dominant force. Vermeulen got that second goal, and then so the game went to overtime. Oh, also, like, Pridham didn't get any points in this game, but Pridham was all over the place. You were, at the end of this game, you're like, he is, and then he was.
Yeah.
But man, he was so good in this game, and it was like it just felt like he just couldn't buy one, but it was great. And then we got to overtime, and man, Romano, holy cow.
Yeah, Luca Romano has almost been a bit of like the forgotten guy in this top six. And I don't mean that isn't that he's been forgotten. It's just that when you're thinking in your head, who's going to be the guy to come up big and score the winner, he's not the one who comes to mind right away. And it's funny because I think he actually often is the guy and doesn't get enough love for that. He had 3 game-winning goals this year. Misljevic kind of is more like, oh, he's going to be the scorer. Pridham's going to score. Trent Swick hat-trick came to mind that I thought that was going to happen. But yeah, Luca Romano, so silky, gets in there. Misljevic made a beautiful pass from the sideboards to the high slot, and Romano received it, went in, and like roof daddy backhand, just a beautiful goal, a very high skill goal.
Very high skill, yeah.
Yeah, to be able to do that, that's like that's
an NHL draft position up. He moved just with that one goal.
Yeah,
exactly. He just was like, bloop, one up.
It was a Crosby-esque backhand. That's what it was. Because you get in that close and roof it like that, it's going to be hard to stop when the goalie drops down. So it was total elation. Luca Romano, the hero. Luca Romano just continues, like you said, to rise in the draft rankings. It's so exciting. And the Rangers are up 1-0, on a Friday night. And going into Sunday, and we're all there.
We were there.
The whole family.
6 of us in 4 seats.
6 of us in 4 seats. You do that math. Figure that one out.
Yeah, you figure out what happened there. That was super fun too. Like, okay, what was the energy compared Friday night to Sunday? Afternoon game Sunday, definitely more kids in the crowd.
Definitely more kids. I will say that it's a Friday night, right? It's the beginning of the weekend, so people are a little bit rowdier. It's a little bit more like, it's the first game of the playoffs. But atmosphere at the Odd, even on a Sunday 2 p.m. start, lots of kids, it was still electric. Like, it was, and part and parcel because the Rangers were flying.
Yes. We've seen this game a few times from the Rangers this season where it is pure dominance. Like, the Rangers just owned this game from the minute the puck dropped. I never felt like it got out of hand. Yes, the closest the game was 0-0 at the beginning, but like 2-1 at the end of the first, or midway through the first, I never felt like Flint had a chance.
No, even when they scored the only goal, of course, the Rangers won this one 6-1. when Flint scored their only goal, it didn't feel like it was so much of a pushback because literally 2 minutes and 30 seconds later, Vermeulen scored one and they're back up 3-1. And you could just feel the ice tilt then, because then after that, I mean, I don't want to glaze over the fact that Jack Pridham scored the opening 2 goals of the game, and he scored them 40 seconds apart, 39 seconds technically.
Yes.
He scored them 39 seconds apart. The dude was like made up for not getting on the score sheet in the first game.
Like I said, he was due in that first game. He could see he was all over it, and then it just all came to him in this game. Like it was all Jack Pridham, the Jack Pridham show.
So Vermeulen had another goal. He's turning out to be, I mean, just like a monster in the playoffs. He looks like a grown man out there. It's great to see Vermeulen, who's just slotted in perfectly as that 3C.
Yeah.
And he's out there and he's in a scoring role, which is unbelievable from your bottom 6 to have a guy like that you can rely on now. And
I'm playing with Lamb too. They did a little line shuffling into this game, which was interesting. You win game 1. I mean, obviously you went to overtime, but you win game 1. And then you shuffle the lines a bit so that, the Romano is playing up on that second line with Elena's on the wing, and all of a sudden you have Vermeulen playing with Lamb, and it's like, all right, this is magic.
I'm just never worried because I just feel like the Rangers just roll 4 lines and it's no issue, right? I thought Lachar had a good game out there. He was very physical, and yet I didn't think that he crossed any lines, which is good, just from a perspective of this game could have got out of hand a little bit.
Yeah, Flint was very frustrated in this game, and the Rangers thankfully didn't take the bait.
Exactly.
I mean, it got chippy. Like these two teams are chippy against each other. Ando's had a couple run-ins throughout the games, and I mean, Lachar had a little bit of a cross the line in game 3, but generally these teams have been chippy, but the Rangers have been controlled, and which I think is helping.
Exactly, I agree. But that's actually a good segue because the 4th Rangers goal was scored by Soupy himself, Carson Campbell of Campbellford. He scored a absolute beauty. He's not known for scoring, but we love it when he does. He's a heart and soul guy. I've loved watching this Steady Eddie play defense all year. He's just been a total beauty on the back end. He scored a really nice goal and then really enjoyed it. He enjoyed himself in the celebration. That's all we're going to say. And there may have been a jock, what would you say it? Readjustment, perhaps, on the way back to the home bench, which may have taken place in front of the visitors' bench. Listen, all I can say is I read an article in the Waterloo Record, my little Waterloo Record plug, Josh Brown, Waterloo Record, and Coach UC Ahokas said, I didn't think he should have even been ejected for it. He does that all the time out there. He was just adjusting himself, and let's move on. That's how I feel about it. I saw it. I didn't cover my 10-month-old's eyes or anything. I thought it was understated, and I thought it was kind of ridiculous that he was tossed for that to me, because it was something that I saw on replay. It wasn't something that I really
I didn't notice it in the moment, even in the replay I didn't really notice it, and I went, oh right.
No, it's very nothing to me, to be honest.
It was funny because obviously we were there. We couldn't we couldn't see it I wasn't watching for it either.
Exactly. Generally not looking for that kind of thing. So
no. And then they were like, Campbell scored, and then they were like, Campbell ejected, and I was like,
misconduct.
What happened?
Misconduct unsportsmanlike. Okay. So cool. I was like, I thought that he was just really happy. That's what it looked like to me. And then it didn't really matter because another defenseman got on the score sheet with Chromiak scoring his first playoff goal. And he had an assist as well in this one. So it was a 2-point game for Chromiak.
He even got the third star of this game.
Yeah, and then Swicky gets his third goal of the postseason, which, I mean, if he keeps scoring at this rate.
Well, I mean, that was not only was that his third goal of the postseason, that was his 6th point of the postseason.
Unbelievable. These overagers know this is the end of the road for them in the OHL, and they make it count, man.
Obviously, we started with the game we lost first, but man, this was a fun weekend of hockey.
It really was.
I am loving the playoffs. I've been watching some highlights of some of the other games too. It's all very high octane. These kids are going, and it's a blast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, so who's your 3 stars of the first 3 games of the playoffs, Andrew? Who's your first star?
Oh, my first star, we just talked about him. It's Trent Swick. Has to be. 6 points in 3 games, all of them coming in 2. I also thought that he played well in the third game, and he could have had another one at least. Just because he gets in front of the net and he puts himself. Unfortunately, he couldn't convert or anything on these chances. It was a weird game because there was a lot of chances from further out in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
For example, I thought it was really strange. I thought it was a statistical anomaly. Chromiak had 9 shots in this game.
He did, but just a lot of point shots was the only thing you could get going in this one.
And that's the thing is I respect it because they were trying to set up that like Trent Swick deflection. They were trying to set up that kind of thing, and they just couldn't get it going.
And
it just
Flint
didn't
read
happen.
it. They knew what was going on. Like, credit to Flint. They saw where their weaknesses were in that second game, and they shut it down. So, there will be some adjustments before game 4 here for sure.
Absolutely. I think that the Rangers just need to get back to what was working for them and just keep that high octane offense where they're out skating Flint and just pushing the pace.
Yeah, agreed. My first star, also Swick, for exactly all the same reasons. 6 points, man.
Mm-hmm.
You can't not say that. Who's your second star?
My second star is Jack Pridham. Because I felt that Jack Pridham could have had a goal or more in the first game, and in the second game, he had 4 points. He was dominant. Jack Pridham put them to bed early, is how it felt, because he just literally scored those 2 goals, and I just honestly felt like, oh yeah, they're winning this game. I just felt so confident. Well, I was like, this is just even like we said, when Aspinall scored to answer back, it didn't feel like it was like a big pushback. It felt like it was a desperation goal, and we had him on the ropes. And of course we did, because then Andrew Vermeulen scored, and that was it. Yeah. Who's your second star?
My second star is our guy, Jackson Parsons. A little bit understated, the first game, 3 goals against, second game, 1 goal against, third game we lost, but only 2 goals against. We played extra frames. He's 2 goals against average in these 3 games. Like, the dude is solid. Yes, you can score on him, but you can score on every goalie. That's not really the point. The point is that he shuts down at key moments, and that's just his game, man. He's solid. I just don't worry with him, and it's great. And it feels I don't have that in my real life, so just need somebody back there to just be the guy.
Yeah, I get you. I feel you.
Who's your third star?
My third star is Luca Romano. He had the overtime winner. I also just felt like he was a leader in puck possession. I felt like he's always in the right spots. I felt like he played really well in the face-off dot, although I did not double check that statistic. It just felt like he was winning most of the draws in
I think
the first 2 games at the very least.
I'm okay to accept that argument. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just felt like he was just a leader. And if you get a game-winning goal in overtime, you deserve at least the third star. Let's put it that way.
There you go.
Yeah. Who's your third star?
Mine is the penalty kill. We went 13 for 13 on the penalty kill in these 3 games. Flint didn't get a lot of great opportunities on the power play. And yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about this at length going into the playoffs. Specialty teams are key. Our power play did well. Like we scored in the first 2 games on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the penalty kill, dominant. Yeah. So that's our 3 stars. I mean, when it comes to game previews, the game previews that we have is there could be 4 more games, but hopefully there's
There
only
could
2.
be. Hopefully there's not 4 more. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
I only want to see 2 more games, even though these games have been great.
They've been super fun. Yeah.
Do not like each other. That is
No.
very clear.
Yeah. The Flint Firebirds.
Firebirds. Yeah, they're not huge fans of the Kitchener
No.
Rangers.
They're kind of like Canadian geese, which is interesting because they are American.
Guessing they don't listen to the Odd Pod down in Flint.
No. Correct. So there's some more games. I mean, Nathan Day, we talked about last week. He's going to be a factor. The guys that we talked about, Clattenburg, Mania, they've been solid for that team. I think we've talked about it in this episode already. The Rangers, if they play their game, they can beat Flint. We saw that in game 2. That was the Rangers playing their game, dictating the game pace. That's how they win.
For sure. And I think it was a little understated, but it was also that game in game 1 as well on the Friday night. I feel like it was a closer game, but it was honestly 2 of those goals I think Parsons would like to have back from the first game. They weren't necessarily bad goals because, Flint had it was a very, very, high danger chance, but Parsons generally stops at least one of those. There was kind of that, like, I couldn't blame Parsons at all for either of those goals, but it was like, you know what? He'll have at least one of those. So I think that realistically, that game could have been a little bit further apart. It could have been a little bit comfier. In fact, in that third period, when Trent Swick scored his second goal and they went up with about 6 minutes left in the game, I thought that was it. And then when Aspinall scored, who that's what he does, this Aspinall guy, he scores a lot and he's a powerful player. When he scored and sent it to overtime with about 5 minutes left, I got really nervous because it was just one of those, like, is this gonna swing now the other way?
Yeah, did the momentum actually shift? Or
yeah,
for sure.
But ultimately, no. Then you get into overtime, and Jackson Parsons is like closing the door. It's not going to happen.
Battle Shield's lockdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Excited for these games. Not going to start speculating on anything past this round. So happy to see it go. We'll talk about that next week. We'll know what the outcome of this series was. I bet we'll be talking about where. Well, by then we'll know because Tuesday night next week is game 7s across the league. So we will be into round 2 probably already by the time we record our next podcast. So we will be talking
one
about
way or
that
another.
Then. Well, round 2 will be happening no matter what. So we will talk about that.
For sure.
And also what we're going to talk about next week is the OHL draft, which I believe is next Friday, which is a week from the day that this will come out. So we'll have a little preview on that. And then Andrew, the greatest Ranger of all time, the G.R.O.A.T. We both have sleeping children nearby, so
we can only do it
we
loudly.
are recording at home because there was like a freak snow/ice storm today, Wednesday. And if you're in Kitchener, because the world shut down today, basically. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was insane. So we just kind of said, you know what, we'll do a remote.
We know how to
pod.
Remote G.R.O.A.T. Oh, a pod. Yeah,
a remote G.R.O.A.T. There you go.
But we are in the throes of the G.R.O.A.T. vote. It's been awesome. Thank you to everybody who's been voting and been in on it. This is killer.
Yeah.
Like, we are right now, as of recording, we are finishing up the final 8 G.R.O.A.T.s. Tomorrow, which is Thursday, we will be doing the final 8 vote, and then Friday, when this episode comes out, you better get over because it's the semifinals, and then next
final
week,
four.
Final 4, Friday today, podcast episode release day, Final Four is happening. I think there's going to be some guys I didn't expect in the Final Four. Some that I
Absolutely. I
did.
don't want to call them upsets.
No.
But I do feel like it's already taken some left-hand turns that I couldn't have predicted.
I think after today's vote, again, we do not have final tallies in, but I think we might have 2 Hall of Famers out before the final 8.
Oh no, that's so insane. That's unbelievable. If you told me that, yeah, I wouldn't have believed you just because I felt like the Hall of Famers were locks to get at least 2 wins in this tournament.
Yeah, agreed, but no dice. No.
Not to
dice.
be. Not
No.
to be.
So here's the schedule. You're hearing this on Friday. The Final Four vote is happening today. The finals vote will happen on Tuesday. So make sure that if you look at our stories today on Instagram, you'll see there's the little countdown timer. You can click the bell to remind you on Tuesday. We're going to be like bugging people. Like if we don't see your vote in, we're going to be looking for you because we've seen all the people that have been voting. We're going to be all over you because we want historic turnouts for this
It's
final
true.
G.R.O.A.T.
And
vote.
we've had phenomenal turnout so far.
We have.
The first round we had almost 2,000 votes. What was it? 1,500?
Yeah,
It was a lot. It was a lot.
1,500 just on Instagram, and then we also had
On
votes
Instagram,
going
yeah.
on
And
TikTok. So
and then we had several hundred on TikTok as well. So I conservatively, I'll say basically 2,000 votes in the first round. So
absolutely,
that's unbelievable.
Thank you. We said this last week, and we are taking it back. We are not gonna announce the winner of the G.R.O.A.T. on Instagram first. Next Friday, tune in to the Odd Pod on Friday. That's where you'll find out who the G.R.O.A.T. is. That's where we're going to announce it.
This is coming out on Friday, April 4th. The G.R.O.A.T. vote, the final G.R.O.A.T. vote is on Instagram on April 8th, Tuesday, April 8th. And then you will find out who is truly the G.R.O.A.T. Once we've done all the tabulations, added up the TikTok, added up the Instagram votes.
Get the Odd Pod computer going.
That will be announced on April 11th, the Odd Pod episode on April 11th.
Episode 29.
Yes, how we've made it here, I have no idea.
No idea, absolutely.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
People are still listening to us, Andrew.
And you know what? No, you know what, though? I have to do a special shout out just to the Rangers community, to the OHL community, that honestly, I just feel completely embraced. It's really nice. It's really nice to start something, to admittedly know very little, next to nothing about the league, about the history of the league, about the franchise that we're following, and for nobody to kind of get in our face about it. People have just embraced us, and we've embraced them, and it's just been awesome all the way around. So positive, and even more, from people who are fans to people who are personalities in the league to people who work with the team to just to super fans in the stands. Everyone has embraced us and been kind to us and welcoming, and it's just like an unbelievable thing to experience.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Thank you to everybody who sends us messages, like private messages on all the social medias and stuff. Just we try and reply to everybody. I think we do reply to everybody, but we just appreciate it. Like, just know that we really appreciate the welcoming community that we've stumbled our way into.
Yeah, and if you see us at a game, you gotta say hi. We got a message. We got a message this past week saying I saw you guys, but I didn't want to interrupt, which I appreciate. We were with our families. We were with our little babies. But honestly, you're not interrupting us if you just come over and say, hey, I follow you guys, or I listen to the pod or whatever, keep up the good work. Or you can just criticize us relentlessly to our face. And we will take notes and we will implement them. No, please be kind. All right. We have egos. All right. And
You can criticize us how Derek Roy and Andre Benoit ended up in the second round of the G.R.O.A.T vote.
well,
against
we
each
agree. We agree with that criticism. That was chance, people. That was
the odd
chance.
gods at work.
We didn't control who was playing against each other or competing against each other. And it also doesn't matter. You
No,
tried to explain this to someone.
Whoever
It
the
doesn't
G.R.O.A.T
matter.
is will win. That's what the point. If you're the
That's
G.R.O.A.T,
what the
you can
point
beat
is.
anyone. We got a couple thank yous to throw out this week. Of course, we have to thank Ken Bourne, the director of branding and marketing, for
Papa
all
Bourne,
the
thank
G.R.O.A.T
you.
stuff. Holy cow. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Doing a lot of the heavy lifting for this
Yeah.
G.R.O.A.T tournament.
Totally. Yes. Of course, we have to thank the prodigal producer, Liam.
The Phenom.
And then, yeah, you can find us on the socials.
Yes, at The Odd Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. Quickly, go there now. If you're listening to this, go there now. There might be a G.R.O.A.T vote happening. If you're listening on Friday, the day of release, there absolutely is. And there is the finals on Tuesday. Just reiterating, the finals on Tuesday after release. Tuesday, April 8th. Get out there and vote for the G.R.O.A.T. It's your last chance. Find us on YouTube, and you can watch me suffer through a severe leg cramp, or at least part of it, because it was ongoing, and we did have to do some editing, so it's not fully uncut this week, but usually there is an uncut version, completely uncut version on YouTube. Check us out. The Odd Podcast Kitchener Rangers is what you want to search out there, and you'll find us.
Indeed. Thank you to everyone who has liked, subscribed, followed, hit bells, I don't know, all those things. And if you haven't, please do. Please, we really appreciate all of it. It goes a long ways to helping us stay in the algorithms of the world, which we don't understand.
Honestly, we don't love asking for that, but we want to connect with Rangers fans and OHL fans, so it helps us do that. That's honestly more that than our ego, truly.
Yeah. Yes. And as always, for the continuing playoffs of the Kitchener Rangers, you can find us at
the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium.
Be it the odd.